I want this video to start with slow, dramatic music. Bum bum. Yes, my friends. You've now completed the G in Genius, which is get information, which is honestly the most important part. So let me give a few disclaimers. Ladies and gentlemen, that is very, very challenging to do. To be able to, what I give you guys is like a step-by-step of what you need to be able to process in your head in like 7 seconds. So what I would recommend you do before you go any further is practice on the phone with different business owners getting information and having real conversations and understanding the information that you need to extract and going through that process again and 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 again. Don't be lazy and try and just give them the forms, because when you have the conversation, you're going to find out what's not written down on the worksheets. Understand? Okay, good. Now let's continue. Now that you have this information, what do you have to do with it? And the answer is, yeah! That's an E right there. Yeah! Evaluate, my friends. Information means nothing unless you understand how to interpret it. So let's begin. Ooh. Magic, I know. Amazing what editing can do. So check this out. The objective of the E in evaluation is to start to figure out how can you take what they just told you and turn it into an automated conveyor belt, a genius machine that's going to spit out customers again and again and again and again. So I'm going to show you how to critically think in this section so that you can come up with fireball campaigns. All right? Starting with one here, this Think Like a Genius worksheet here is called the Social Assets Evaluation. The Social Assets Evaluation. One of the things I enjoy most is making up terms like that and making myself sound a lot smarter than what I am. So let's break that down. What's a social asset evaluation? It's the process of evaluating somebody socially. So basically, you got Facebook right here, right? So all you would do, let me get my marker out, hold up. All you would do is go to their Facebook page, their fan page, not their personal page. So if someone tells you they have 3,000 followers, but they don't have any followers or a business fan page, then it doesn't matter because it cannot help you because you can't advertise from someone's personal profile. That's called spam if you're doing that. So you go to the fan page and you look how many likes they have. Oh, okay, this is cool. All right, they got 7,000 likes. And then you go to their Instagram and you stalk them there. And you say, oh, all right, this is nice. They got 10,000 followers on Instagram. Okay, good. So subscribers on YouTube. Wow, fantastic. They got 3,400 subscribers on YouTube. And geez, Louise, Steve, they got 2,700 people on Twitter. Now, why does this matter? Why do you actually care how many followers they have? Because understand this, and we'll get there when we start talking more about the platforms in depth, but the bigger the following, I should say the more engaged of the following that they have, the easier and more affordable it's going to be to place ads in front of those people. Facebook charges you differently from advertising to people who already like your stuff versus advertising to people who have never heard of you. And you also typically get better conversion rates with a warm audience, right? So the very first thing that I want you guys to do is to take the time to fill this out. The other little genius tip that you can't see on this pull-up here, the genius tip here, is this. Don't just check their likes, check their engagement. Go to their page and scroll down and see, are they posting? Is anyone responding? Also check their frequency of how often they're posting. Those things matter. All right, now moving on. All right, so something else that's on your worksheets, but you don't see it up here, is you also need to take into account their email list. This is huge for distribution. How many people do they have on their email list? Okay. Now, some of you are saying, hey, Billie Jean, guess what? My customer doesn't have any of this stuff, or my business is just getting started up. That's fine, but let me tell you something right now. Start building that shit. I'm gonna write it all out. I'm gonna make you watch me write it because it's that important. Start building that shit. Because if you don't, you'll lose and you'll go out of business. I say those things and it sounds like I'm saying it in a joking manner, but I'm very serious with you. If you don't, you're gonna lose. Your competition is gonna just absolutely crush you. Because here's the truth. if you look at company A and you look at company B, right? So we'll say this is company A, this is company B. Same exact things. Here's a dentist. Here's a dentist. Okay, and this sounds so stupid. And let's just say they both live within a 1 mile radius from your house. Here's your house down here. This is 1 mile both ways. And then you go to one person's page and they got like, you know, oh whoops, 1,200 likes. And they like post stuff in this one, and this person has 0 or doesn't have a fan page at all. Who are you going to choose? I take that back. Forget you because you don't matter. Who's your customer going to choose? So before this video ends, Rena wants me to reiterate the fact that there's no trust being built up here, right? There's no trust, and she's completely right. It goes like this. Remember when websites first came into account? Maybe you don't. When websites first came, only a few people had them and they were seen as bonuses. Now let me ask you a question. Would you guys buy something from a company if they told you they didn't have a website? Oh! Of course you wouldn't, because you don't trust them and you would think it's sketch. Just like in real life, when you meet somebody and they tell you, I don't do Facebook, I don't do that social shit, you're like, dude, you're a fucking weirdo. You're weird, period. Like, there's no other way to put it, right? So, not being social is the equivalent to being a weirdo, which is the equivalent to being not trusted, which is the equivalent to not making sales, because people buy when they trust you. Hashtag fireballs, hashtag truth, hashtag we're weirdos, but different kind of weirdos. Later. All right, so now that you've evaluated the business socially and you've kind of seen their engagement, their followers, and basically if they have a trust established with a warm audience, right? Next thing you need to do to choose the winner, because remember, the goal of this is to figure out what the hell should we sell? What the hell should we advertise? And what happens next? Is here, a sales evaluation. Whoa, I moved the thing. That was crazy. A sales evaluation, this guy right here. See that? Sales evaluation. So what you have to do here is refer back to some of those sheets. And I'll show you which one in particular. Ah, yes, there it is. You like that? Editing, it just does everything. Yeah. Okay, so remember this know your role sheet? And what we did is we took an employee, so we'll say Rena, because she's sitting next to me right now, or some people call her Rex. Only I call her Rex, right? And I would say she's in marketing, right? So she'd be the CMO. Well, I would say her department's marketing, right? And then her role would be CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. And her rating is she's pretty good. Let's give her an 8.8, and she'll argue differently that she's a 10. You know? So close ratio here, well, she's not doing front-facing sales, so it wouldn't necessarily apply here, right? So I say, okay, Rena, that's good to know, but let's focus in on a salesman, right? And let's take Justin. And let's say Justin's in sales and his job is to close people or book appointments or whatever it is, right? So that's what the role is. Are they booking appointments? Are they closing people? Are they sending, like, what are they doing? But what's their rating, most importantly? So this is what I want you guys to focus on, are these two end bars here. The rating and closing of the sales guys. The rating and closing of the sales guys. And then what I want you to do, I want you to break down what they are. So you have the people, you want to understand who it is that you should be fielding these leads to and who you should be creating that relationship with. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say if I evaluated that sheet and I saw that Justin was the guy to go to there. But then as I'm talking to the owner of the company, they say, all right, Billy, yeah, you know, we'll try your little advertising campaign or whatever, and I'm going to actually have Steve do it. And he recommends going to Steve. But then you look back on the roll sheet and you saw that Steve, man, that dude was a 4 at closing. So why are we going to put it there? Because no matter how many leads you bring somebody, if they can't close on the other side, then you are screwed. So that's a waste of everybody's time. So that's what you guys got to do, is you have to establish who are the winning people. All right, so now you guys got your winning people, okay? Next thing we need to do, this is important, is figure out if you have winning scripts. People sleep on this all of the time. So this is what the benefit of it, you know, working with established businesses or being in business for quite some time is this. A lot of the times, people have phone scripts, right? So in other words, when somebody calls in and says, hey, I'd like to book an appointment at blank, there's an exact script that they follow. But a lot of the times, they don't have that. Not only do they not have phone scripts, but they also don't have templates to reply to messages. No reply scripts. This is important because if we decide to run a campaign that's going to make the phone ring, then the phone scripts are relevant. But if we decide to run a campaign where we're getting people to message us or text message us and we don't have reply scripts, then you may be swimming in hot water, my friends. Others would call that a bath. So the next thing you would do here is evaluate their scripts. And a good way to do this is say this, Mr. Customer, or ask yourself, how do you make most of your sales? And sometimes you find out weird shit like, dude, honestly, people just message us on Facebook. Oh, so you must have a reply script in there that's working. So you want to work backwards and decipher what are they saying and standardize it, right? And standardize it, because as you go to grow a campaign, you're going to need more than one person to talk on the phone or to reply to messages. And those new people aren't going to be as good as Justin. It doesn't mean you can't scale. It just means they need to model what the winning people are doing and the winning process, the winning scripts that they're using. Give me 2 thumbs up if that makes sense. Now raise your hand if you look like a weirdo, give me 2 thumbs up to the computer screen. Now raise your hand, the other one, if you look like a weirdo for raising your hand in the first place. Okay, now you can put them down, you're just weird. All right, now fair enough. We got people scripts, we got scripts, and then we got C. Can anybody guess what C is? Anybody guessed what C is? Actually think about it for a second. Jeopardy music, please. What was the last thing, people? Did you guess it? It's the converter, my friends, the sales mechanism, the tool that you're going to use to take this attention and the interest that you've gained from your advertisements and turn them into money in your pocket. Because that's why we're here, right? Here's a chart, another little worksheet that we gave you that I think you may find helpful, all right? So think like a genius. This is the genius mechanisms, all right? At the bottom, the numbers here represent the time/difficulty of the plan that, or the sales mechanism you're trying to implement and the task you're trying to do. Up here is usually the more money that you can charge. Now, ignore the actual number, right? You should always charge based on the value that you're able to deliver. And you probably don't know that right now because you're not exactly a pro at this stuff because you're just learning about it. But just to give you an idea, essentially what this is saying is you can charge more money typically for the time and difficulty it takes to build something. Just makes sense, right? So for example, the one here is collect name, email, and phone number lead generation, right? So that would mean, I erased it instead of drew it. Everybody's going crazy. So if I went here and I marked it there, the one, I just want to collect a name, email, and phone number, then I can usually charge on the lower side, even though there's some big clients who will pay you a lot of money to do that too. But again, this is a rule of thumb, right? Now at the same time, if I was trying to get somebody to purchase something online without talking to any human beings at all, which is like the dream, it's hard as shit to do. Everybody sees people doing like, oh my gosh, that person just sits on a computer all day and is just selling all this shit. It's hard as shit, people. And as a result of that, it takes a whole bunch of time to get it right. And therefore, that you could be charging the big time bucks for. But if you don't have the skill set to do that, then don't worry about it because you ain't gonna charge big time dollars yet. Understand? So that's the idea behind this chart, is to really evaluate what it is you're trying to do for the customer. And that comes from a discussion. That comes from evaluating their sales teams and their social presence and trying to figure out, man, do these guys have enough brand trust, enough brand equity to just tell somebody to take out their credit card and swipe? Or has nobody heard of them? They just have a Facebook page. They're going to have to get on the phone with someone. They're going to have to chat with them to create that trust in order to make the sell. Does that make sense? Because that was a very important concept. Did that make sense?
Yeah, that was great.
Okay, cool. So continue on, you guys. Now let me break down these mechanisms in a different way for you. And I want to take this mechanism key and turn it into tools for you, all right? So, for example, the number one here, it says collect name, email, phone number, lead generation. Now, the tools to do that are pretty easy. You just use a landing page software, which I'll get into. A landing page software, which for really newbies that are here right now, that's a software that you can use to drag and drop and build miniature web pages, miniature websites, like a very non-techy way to explain that. All right, so all you need to do that and then use an email service provider. Some people refer to these as ESPs, email service provider. A popular one, our favorite, is MailChimp. Right? So to collect name, email, and phone number, all you need is like these services, and honestly, there's like 1,000 other ones that do it too. This right here, it's not complicated, it's not crazy, it's not hard. To just get somebody to register for a webinar, right, an online event that's happening, that's pretty easy too. You can actually use this same software, and I'm just going down the list here. Now we're talking about getting someone to book an appointment, right? Now you need some different softwares to use to actually have somebody schedule. So as we go through later, I'll teach you all about different kind of calendar services that we like, etc. But getting someone to schedule and book an appointment takes a little bit more tech, and also it takes a little bit more convincing. So let me explain the difference here. In the first two examples of easiness, I gave you the example of someone just collecting someone's name, email, and phone number. To do that, it takes like 5 seconds. It's no big deal. But the second you ask for someone's time, their greatest asset, everything gets dramatically more challenging. When someone's calling to book an appointment, they got to look at their calendar, they got to make sure the kids are available, and then they have to ask themselves, is it worth my time? Is it worth not watching The Bachelor? Is it worth not watching Shark Tank? What kind of time are you going against here, right? So you got to evaluate that. And now when we get into number 4, which is just hard as hell, in person, I mean, shit. That's hard to do, to get someone to get out of the comfort of their home and drive to see you to deal with a problem they probably don't want to solve in the first place. That's a challenge, my friends. It's all very possible. Don't get discouraged, but it's hard. So all I'm telling you is if you're starting off and you're trying to do complicated shit like this, you got an uphill battle there. But once you do, the money is stupid. Now, I got $10,000 as a cap right there, but we've done this shit and charged up to 30K, right? So again, just giving you rules of thumb. Has this been clear so far? Has this been helpful and good? See how I'm checking with them to check with you because I can't talk to you right now? Damn it. Okay, now let's take this a step further. Okay, now I'm here. And so, taking all of these mechanisms, what you guys really have to understand is this. Where is the sale going to be closed, right? So if you're on a webinar, for example, then that's an example of a sale being closed online. But you may do a webinar to an application where people fill out an application first, and then you call, and that would be having the sale close on the phone. One of these two ways outside of in person is typically, and then I would say messaging, period. One of these 4 ways is the only way that you can actually make money. People are buying shit online, you process an order through the phone, someone came in person to meet with you, someone just decided to talk to you through Messenger, and the whole thing happened just using email, text, Facebook chat, things of such. Does that make sense, right? The reason why I'm going through this and giving you this really like granular breakdown is because when you're creating your campaign, if you don't have clarity on what the objective it is, based on what that company is capable of executing, it's a huge variable there, then you're screwed. So I hope this breakdown was helpful when it comes to evaluating. So let me bring it all together for you. Now coming back here to where we started, these exercises seem simple, right? I'll just fill out the social assets and then just pick the people who are best, the scripts are the best, converters that can best. No, my friends, just because the form is simple doesn't mean the process is simple because of all the things I just told you have to think about. If they don't have scripts, guess what, my friend? You may have to create a script. And if you don't know how to create scripts, guess what, my friend? You got to learn how to create them. I guess you're in the right place, aren't you? We'll give you some tips and some examples to use. And then lastly, converter. If you don't know how to do landing pages and webinars and get people to call and how to record the call, hey, I guess you're in the right place, aren't you? Anyways, guys, that's what these forms are about. This is the type of critical thinking that you must master so you can take that information, strategically evaluate it, and then create an advertising campaign that's going to turn $1 into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I'm out. Okay, so some of you may be wondering, I decided to actually create this video in addition, and then because Rena brought it up, and I wanted to talk a little bit about when you should use each mechanism, right? When you should use the phone versus message versus having someone in person versus having someone actually just purchase something online. The number one answer, I'll give you the A. The first off is based on evaluation. Evaluation. What does that mean? In other words, anything that you create in regards to the marketing arm of the company, if it doesn't already align synergistically with what that company or your company is already doing, then it's not going to work. Period. It doesn't matter how much magic you put on there, but if the company is not in a position to field phone calls, not in a position to message people, not have the personnel to bring people in person and scale that out, not have the processes, the payments and the design, etc., to be able to purchase and sell things online, then it doesn't matter what you do. So the very first thing you got to do is really spend extra time on evaluating what you got to work with. Then based on what you have to work with, you have to follow this simple concept. It's not always true, but majority of the time it is. And that's time rules all. And essentially, the more time that you have to spend with the customer for them to swipe dictates the sales mechanism that you should use, right? So for example, let's say that you're selling real estate. We'll put real estate on the high end here. I'll call it real estate. Well, what are they doing? They're doing number 3. They're meeting in person and they're spending a whole bunch of time, days driving around, seeing their houses, etc. Why? Because typically it's the largest investment that anybody will make in their entire lives. And so it goes accordingly. You have to spend more time and you have to be in person to create that trust and to make it happen. You following me here so long? Now let's take, a pack of gum. A pack of gum. You know, you'll be in the grocery store and you see the gum there. If your breath is kicking, you don't think about it twice, like how much. And then you even have the nerves to tell them, keep the change. Because it was only 97 cents and you don't want the 3 pennies, right? You're not even thinking about it. There's no time that needs to be spent here because it's directly correlated with price. So the bigger the price, typically the more time that you need, or I should say, it's not about time. Let me rephrase that. The more trust. This is a trust bar for you guys, right? And all of these mechanisms build X amount of trust. Let me show you the scale, right? Messaging. How many of you here have done online dating before, right? And you're chatting with somebody, and now everybody's so cool and hip that everybody just text messages. And so you feel like if you've only texted somebody and you set a date to like go somewhere or to grab coffee, it's like, I've never even talked to the person before. All we've done is message, right? This is low commitment. This is a low trust area. So with your clients, if you're just talking on Messenger, they send an email, you ain't really established any trust yet, okay? Now, in addition to that, next level is the phone. Oh my God, we talked like on the phone for like 2 hours. I know about his family, da-da-da-da-da. That may be enough. That may be enough trust built, right, to already create a relationship. But then if you actually spend time with that person in person, oh my gosh, that's the ultimate. Does this make sense to everyone here, what I'm following, and the importance of establishing trust? So what I'm telling you here is the more expensive the product or the service that you have, typically the more trust needs to be established. Your job is to take a stranger and make them trust your client or you if you're the company that we're talking about today. The way that you establish trust is completely dependent on where you were before. For example, if you're dating and someone refers you from a friend, you already come in with more trust. Do you see what I'm saying? If there's a stranger that's never heard about you before, then just trying to get someone to purchase online right away is absolutely insane. It's never going to work. you really have to build that relationship and do it through one of these mechanisms. So I'll go like this. This is a great way that I'll close out this video with. This is a thermometer, okay? And up here is hot as shit, right? This is like 100 degrees, okay? And this right here is representative of your client's trust with their potential buyers, okay? So your relationship is either like super hot, warm, and you guys are good, and you're buddy-buddy, they've been buying shit from you forever. You can literally freaking pee on their car and like, Steve, stop playing around, man. You know, like it's a joke. And then there's just like negative 32 degree, like snowing. They've never heard of you. Who the hell are you? Why are you showing up on my Facebook news feed? Why do I see your ads on YouTube here? So right now, you need to have an honest discussion with your client. And if they're in the freezing temperature right here, like where shit's cold as ice, in order to make the sell, you better get your ass on that phone. Start talking sweet to them. Get to know them, right? You better get to know them. You better see if you can meet them in person. And I'll put that in the same category because we're in 2017 as like a webcam or something, right? A web meeting. Seriously, you can do web meetings right now to sell stuff. It's a real thing, right? So if you're cold as shit, you're good. Now, if you're somewhere in that middle range and like you're cool, they kind of know you, you may be able to do something like have somebody buy online. It's a little challenging to do, right? It's a little challenging to do. But seriously, if you have some trust and it's kind of like a warm relationship and you're good, you can just send them an email and say, hey, you should buy this. And if they already had some good experiences with you, they just may do so. Now, if they're just good and whatever, you can do what's called whatever the fuck you want. You can sell it to them on the phone. You can sell it to them through an online. You can not sell it to them and they'll still probably try and buy, right? So at the end of the day, if you're trying to dictate which sales mechanism is best to use, just answer the question, how's the relationship? What's the temperature? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. All right, so remember the importance of this section E in valuation is to be able to critically think, be able to take this information and then figure out a way to position it in a cool way that's going to turn into a genius machine. In other words, taking strangers in space into paying customers. So what we did in the previous videos is we evaluated the business, right? If you don't have the right salespeople in place, if you don't have the right process in place, it doesn't matter. And unfortunately, we live in a day and age where perception is reality, my friend. So even if you have a great company, but they don't have a social presence, it's like having a new company. Isn't that ironic? So what I want you to focus on next in this is content. So remember in the previous exercise, remember that exercise we did? Right there, that one right there. The whole idea behind it was to look at the content that they have to figure out which assets we can use in their advertising campaigns, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. A lot of times companies already have good pieces. So I would start with this. Number one is video. Give me text somewhere on here. Always use video. Out of all the clients that we had last year, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients, every single campaign, with the exception of maybe one or two, we used video. That's how much we believe in it. It's not an option anymore. So first thing you want to do is evaluate if they have great videos that you can use. And even if you're looking at the video, so show the example of a random one of our videos here, and the sound is horrible, but the clips are fantastic, that's still a good asset, you guys, right? Because you can extract that audio, which we can show you how to do, right? And then just do a voiceover, and all of a sudden, you got a brand new video explaining their number one product or service that you evaluated. So what you want to do in regards to content to help you identify what the hell you should do with all this information is choose videos that look the freaking best and represent the brand, and hopefully they show, here's the aspects you're looking for in a video to tell if it's good content. Number one is the people. People buy people. People buy from people they're familiar with and that they know, like, and trust. So in the video, find and identify the content where they're actually talking and showing the person, so that trust and relationship is being created that I mentioned earlier. Next is the environment. If you have a business and they actually have a tangible office with a physical location, that's a huge asset. Show people where they're at, what it looks like. Is it real? Because that brings the credibility there. And then lastly, the video doesn't look like shit, right? Like, you do want it to look good. It's going to represent their brand. So I would take into account all three of those things, and that's how you decide which content you should use. Was that clear? Did that make sense to there? Okay, cool. So that's the content section of this. Now I want to get on to something else. Now that we've gathered that information, you know what we can do now? Plug it in! What's that, Billy, you say? That was electricity coming out of my fingers because I'm trying to make hot sauce work more. We're going to plug it in. What's that mean, Billy? Well, I'll show you. All right, so to continue evaluating and identifying which of this information we should actually be using, here comes the fun part, right? And the objective, what I'm going to show you next, is to see who we should be showing your advertisements to. Check it out. Okay, so do you guys remember this? Do you remember this worksheet? And do you remember this section in particular? We get information here, where we ask about like their age, location, TV shows that they watch, and we do a whole bunch of other things to stereotype our ideal customer. So the reason why I did that is because we're going to leverage that information to help find our ideal customer online. So that way we can be a crane and go out and get those customers. Let me show you what I mean. This section here, essentially what you want to do is pull up this little card, and you also want to pull up this new worksheet here. Okay? This is called the Think Like a Genius Plug It In worksheet, baby. So all you're looking at here is a print version of the advertising platform that is known as Facebook and Instagram. What I've realized from teaching for quite some time now is a lot of people don't even understand or know or are aware of the capabilities of these platforms, so I thought I'd share with you. Every time I'm asking a client for information, all I'm doing is getting ammunition for my campaign, okay? So when we're taking them and asking them questions about like, dude, what's your customer listen to? What do they watch? It's because we want to plug it into Facebook because they have all of that data. Now, a couple things you have to understand. Number one, Facebook uses the same advertising platform as Instagram because Facebook owns Instagram, and then they integrated the advertising into one. So when you're setting up a campaign on Facebook, all you have to do is click a button and say also show on Instagram. Yes, it really is that simple, and I'll show you the technical stuff later. For now, all I want you to understand is this. You have a client who sucks at finding their customer. You just got information from them that all you have to do is plug it into Facebook and Instagram and let them do the rest of the shit. So you're gonna look like a genius, okay? Number one is you can advertise to your current audience. So you remember that social presence card that I had you fill out in the previous video? You can actually go to Facebook and you can upload your database of emails and your database of phone numbers to that and say Facebook, you can say Facebook, take this list and find all these people. I want to show them advertisements. So imagine that, and I'll give you some actual practical examples of this. If you've been in business for a while and you have a database of previous customers, yeah, you can literally just upload them and say, hey guys, bring in a referral and I'll also give you this. Every single one of you right now for your clients and yourself should be running a fucking referral competition to this because it's disgustingly cheap to do and it takes 2 seconds. Again, I'll show you the technical stuff. Just follow the strategy. That's the magic. It's not in the little doohickeys, okay? So you can upload a custom audience is what they call that. And you can do it by email or phone numbers, right? And show your ideal customer that. For those of you who have been around for a while, shut up, pretend you didn't know it and keep paying attention, okay? The other option that you have is you can advertise specifically to their fans. So remember how I asked you how many people do they have on Facebook, how many people do they have on Instagram that are following them? It's because you can advertise specifically to those people, and those are your warmer audiences. So remember when I showed you the thermometer about warm and cold audiences? If you know these people are warm audience, then you can ask them to buy stuff online, and you don't even have to talk to them. There's a good chance they may do it. Rewind that back. Do you see what I just did? I put all this shit together. You see how it's coming together? And then next, we have the audience section. This is the fun part, and this is where I am here. Look at the cool shit that you can do. You can advertise the people if they own a home. Huh. Imagine if you were advertising for Airbnb and you needed to get in front of homeowners. That's interesting. You can advertise to people and you say, based on if they're likely to engage in political conversations. Well, unfortunately, with the election being last year, this is everybody. So I don't know how targeted that's going to be because everyone's a fucking politician nowadays, right? And by the way, who did I vote for? Entrepreneurs, because we create our own economy. Smile. I didn't smile when I said that, but yeah. Continuing on, you can go to financial. You can advertise to people based on how much money they make. Isn't that crazy? Now, people are saying, all right, Billy, but doesn't Facebook, people just lie about what they make? It's all fake. That's not how Facebook gets their data in that scenario, my friends. What happens is they're partnered with some of the largest data companies in the world. So when you go buy a home or you go to buy a car, that information is shared. Now, before you go, oh my gosh, my privacy, it's shared at the aggregate level, meaning they share the overall database of things, not information about John Doe's credit score is blank. You see what I'm saying? So when you have this stuff, it's true. Understand here, and this is a note for later when we get into the technical stuff, but usually the more specific you are, it's typically more expensive to reach those people. So just remember it's a give and take, just giving you a little foreshadowing for what's coming up later. Next is work. Hold on a second, Billy. Are you telling me that you can advertise to people based on a company they work at? Hold on a second, Billy. Are you telling me that social media actually does work for B2B? Wait a second, Billy. Are you telling me that social media advertising actually works better than anything else on the fucking planet? For B2B advertising, yes, my friend. That is what I'm telling you. And what I'm also telling you is that a fraction of people in the world realize this capability exists. Congrats. There's the ROI on this class. Anyways, continuing on. Work. Literally, just go to people who work at Billy Genius Marketing and put a message in front of us, right? Purchase behavior. Do they typically in the past buy foods, drinks, all kinds of shit? You got to look through there. Generation. Millennials think different than Generation X than baby boomers think, right? So pay attention to who you're showing your message to. Men and women, gender, you know we speak different languages. Ages, you can target people by ages, right? But here's a fun one that everyone should be taking advantage of. Birthdays. Think about it. For every single business that you work with or yours, their customers have birthdays, period. So you can put, like say for restaurants, for example, all you can do is run an advertisement and say, hey, do you have a birthday coming up? You already know they got a freaking birthday coming up because you got the platform. So you say, do you have a birthday coming up? Well, come in and we'll buy you a free sundae. Put in your name, email, and phone number here. You see how I'm going with that because it's a stranger in space, so I only ask for their name, email, and phone number. God, guys, you see how it's coming together? Hashtag genius process. Hashtag take notes. Hashtag woo! I'm on one right now. Let's continue. Next is the education level, my friends. You can advertise to people based off the schools that they went to, attended to, alumni of, based on if they have their masters or their undergrads or their bachelors. And guys, it's the realest shit ever. So this is just a fraction of the targeting, but I wanted to point out some ones that you probably didn't know. But the main ones you probably should focus on are their interest. You can advertise to people based on their interest, meaning this. Every time someone's on Facebook or Instagram and they like or they double tap and they heart something, you can advertise to those people. So if I'm trying to reach you guys, I would probably advertise to people who watch the TV show Shark Tank. Now you're wondering, well, damn, how am I ever going to find out this information about my customers? Aha, wait a second. That's what that previous worksheet was for before. So we already know the shows they watch. We already know the groups and associations that they're a part of. Now all we're doing is, what's that? Plugging it in. Isn't that cool? That's what, so Billy's not just making me do these worksheets because he hates me. No, man, just come in here and you'll be able to just put this information in there. Now, some of you are saying, all right, Billy, that sounds great, but how the hell do I do that? Well, with patience, because I'll show you that in a different video. Right now, you just want to comprehend the strategy. This is the magic. This is how you make money. You get disgustingly good at these first letters I'm showing you. This is the only thing that matters, matter of fact. because this applies not just to social shit. This is just direct response advertising, okay? So just like Facebook, YouTube's got all kinds of cool shit you can do, starting with number 1, remarketing. What's remarketing, you say, Billy? That's what YouTube calls it when you upload those emails and you upload those phone numbers. You can do the same thing on YouTube. What's that? Yeah, you can. That's right, guys. With a simple 2-button drag and drop click, you can start advertising to all of your customers right now, the people who already know, like, and trust you. And guess what? It's cheaper to advertise to people that you know. They charge you differently. So it's the most affordable form of getting in front of your audience in the world that exists right now, and you're not taking advantage of it. In addition to that, you can target by interest in keywords. Now, let me explain something. The interest in Google are really spot on because, think about it, YouTube is owned by Google. Google gets its data from us searching weird things online. So they know the interest about us that our spouses, our husbands, our best friends don't know either, even though they should know. Communication is key if you want to stay in a relationship, but I have to upsell you if I gave you a thing on relationships. And plus, you ask my girl, I don't think I'm that good at them, but I'm learning. So continuing on, what I'm telling you guys to do, I lost my train of thought in my line of jokes because I got to entertain and educate. So sometimes the live keywords. That's right. So they know everything. And when you're typing them in, right? You're typing them in. Again, just go with stereotyping, right? Like, what would somebody actually search who's in my shoes right now? Somebody who's having the problem that I know my product or service solves. What are they typing into Google? That's how you identify the good stuff on YouTube. In addition to that, you can advertise on certain channels. You can advertise on certain channels. So if you already know there's a YouTube channel that has your exact demographic, you can advertise on their videos. Here's the catch, they have to allow it, right? So if they check a box and says, I don't want anybody to advertise on this, then they can't, but a lot of them don't. So just imagine that, showing up right on top of your competitors' videos. That's not a bad idea. I'm just saying, #genius. #genius, right? So again, guys, like, the idea here is to not complicate you. You take the sheets, you go through and you just start clicking boxes. Like, it's nothing crazy. And it's hard to see in the screen because it's small, but you'll have the handouts that you can download. And guys, I mean, before you even touch a computer, notice we haven't touched a computer yet. And this is the whole jam, right? So you can understand exactly what you're doing. Now, the more you learn about the capabilities of Facebook, YouTube, Google, and by the way, they're always changing and being updated, the more tools you have in your bag. So when you're asking questions, you're realizing that, damn, I'm asking questions because this is where I'm taking them to, and you get better at it. All right? So anyways, I'll go into placements about where these ads show up for Facebook and YouTube in a different video. I don't think it's as appropriate in this one, but nonetheless, you get the idea behind the strategy. Was I clear? Was I clear? Do you see how all we're doing in this entire class is just baking a cake? And we just have a wrench out while we're baking this cake, and we're building this automated conveyor belt called the Genius Machine. And that's me signing off in an overly dramatic way by slowing down my diction and enunciating on different parts of the word. #veteran move. See you soon.